There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Give me 1 second. Let me find what screen I was trying to share with you. All right. All right. Let me do this here. All right, here we go. Can you see the screen that's coming up? Can you see that?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So this is a complimentary, the buyer's consultation that we do on Zoom now is complimentary to the buyer's consultation, the Happy Home Hunting Packet, which we would normally do with you face-to-face. But at real estate law says that we have to have a face-to-face meeting with you in which we disclose agency. So much of what I'm going to talk to you about is what agency is, so that you can have an idea of what agency means in terms of representation as we move forward in the buyer process. Just to let you know a little bit about us, Porters, we started this, we're a husband and wife team. I think we worked with you guys in the past, but we've actually built a brokerage, and I don't know how long ago it was that you worked with, but we don't own the brokerage now for 3 years. We have about 60 agents working for us here at Porterhouse. And so what we've done quite successfully is build a brand and a reputation around the services that we're giving primarily to buyers in the Prince George's County area, in Waldorf, Washington, D.C., and Virginia. But we also have the ability to extend our reach internationally and nationwide to make sure that we can service clients wherever they decide to go. That's just a little picture of my wife and I. My wife is the broker, so I work for her. She owns the company. She's my boss. All right. I don't know if you understand what that's like, Mr. Reggie, but it's quite a beautiful thing, my brother. Quite a beautiful thing. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. So some of the reasons why you might need a realtor, and why we like to talk to people about the importance of having a realtor is that, one, we're members of the National Association of Realtors. We're very proud of that. And that is a code of ethics and standards that we have to follow and practice as members of NAR. And what we want you to do is kind of let us be your guide, because we do this every single day. This is what we do for a living. I don't have any other side job, hustle, or anything else. This is what I do. We can save you endless amounts of time, money, and frustration in the home buying process. And there are some things that have happened, even in the midst of COVID, that has made the buying process even more particularly stressful for many buyers, because the market, instead of relaxing, has gotten extremely aggressive. And that's counterintuitive to what you might think might be happening in the COVID environment. The other thing is that we know the housing market very well, and we can help you avoid what we call the wild goose chase. And you can imagine what that is. When you get out there, you start looking for a property, and the next thing you know, you're all over the place, and then you're not even looking for what you thought you was looking for from the beginning. We want to, and the most important thing is that we can help you with any home, even if it's listed with another broker or listed elsewhere. We can get that information for you. We can get the disclosures for you. We can get a lot of information from that seller. And then we can find out what would be the best way for us to approach that property, if that's indeed what you're interested in. We know the best lenders. We believe Michael Cooper is one of the best lenders in this area. Michael Cooper has a track record of success. He's closed 99% of the loans that he has given to us in terms of pre-approvals over the last 7 years. In other words, there's not been one person, and I do about 100 transactions a year, there's not been one person that he has not closed if he's given us the pre-approval for. All right, so that's a really impressive track record. A lot of lenders will give you a pre-approval or pre-qualification, but at the end of the day, they can't get the loan closed. And that can be very frustrating to our buyers. We're an excellent resource and source for both general and specific information for the community, as well as tips for home inspection and pricing. And that's very important. You want any house that you're interested in, unless you're an investor and you have a construction company, you know exactly what you're doing. You want to get an inspection. You want to find out what are some latent defects that might be hidden, things that you might not be able to see with the naked eye. systems that might be faulty, concerns that a qualified and very well trained inspector might be able to discover for you. All right, and the last thing, and this is the most important thing, especially in this particular environment, is that we are experienced in presenting your offer to the homeowner and can help you through the process and negotiating what's best for you. So in other words, what we look at is these little seesaws right here. And this is helping you understand what agency, because the first document I need you to sign is called Understanding Whom the Agents Represent. And the reason why this rule and this law was put in place was because prior to 2007, 2008, there was no regulation. It was buyer beware. It was every man for himself. And if you might recall back in the day, what would happen is that people would drive around and looking for yard signs in neighborhoods that they were interested in. They would call the number on the yard sign. The guy would show up. He might even bring you some coffee. He'll walk you through the house. He'll tell you how wonderful your children were, even though they were breaking everything up. And then he would say, what do you think? He would say, I love the property. He'll write the property up for you. He'll get you a lender. He'll get you everything. You close on the property. But one thing he never told you, he never represented you. Only person he represented the whole time was the seller. Every single thing that you told him was used in the seller's best interest. All the information you told him about your account and what money you had and where you want to get it from, he used that in the best interest of the seller. He never disclosed that he did not work for you. Well, that's against the law now. And the great thing is that is what really triggered what is called buyer agency, because buyer agency is really a brand new thing in real estate altogether. The buyer agent now has a fiduciary, a responsibility, the same as an attorney would have, to give the buyer the same confidentiality, obedience, loyalty, disclosure, accounting, and care that that person would have if he were representing the seller. So in other words, this transaction, Porterhouse and myself and whomever you work with will represent you and you only in the transaction of this, in this transaction, so that you can get the house the way you want it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So the little seesaw, where I like to say, if your money was a quarter and you put it up on that seesaw, it's gonna roll right down there in that seller's pocket if you did not have somebody representing you. And likewise, on the other hand, we have people who like to represent themselves. I just did a deal this morning with a gentleman who wanted to represent himself as what we call a FSBO, for sale by owner. Now, I had to disclose to him that I was representing the buyer and the buyer only in this transaction. I couldn't give him any advice on what he should do and shouldn't do. In fact, I asked him a number of times if he didn't want to reconsider and get a qualified realtor to help him with this transaction, or even an attorney to help him decipher the documents, because that's not my responsibility. My responsibility was to disclose to him that I represented the buyer and the buyer only in that transaction. All the information that he gave me, which he helped us out a tremendous, a whole lot more than he even know he has, was used to benefit my buyer. So if you know anybody who wants to sell their home by themselves, we'll go to them and I will represent you and you only, and I will use those things that I know about real estate to benefit you as the buyer, because you have the representation. All right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Sure.
All right. Now, if you're viewing a property with an agent and have not signed a buyer brokerage agreement, that agent represents the seller. So that means if I would have taken you out, Mr. Reggie, you sent me quite a number of documents. Had I taken you out and not have had you sign an agency agreement that said that I represent you and you only in this transaction, I'm actually working for the seller, even if it's a house that I'm not selling. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I become a co-agent with the agent that's selling the house if I don't have an agreement with you. That's just the way the rules are set up. So it's very interesting. It's something that's very important, something small that people don't consider, but it's really, really important for you to understand that we're going to represent you in your best interest in this transaction. All right? What's going to happen 99% of the time is that there's going to be a buyer's agent on one side and the seller's agent on the other side. And the reason why I'm successful as I am, and I'm not tooting my own horn, is because I really pay attention. I know the market. I know how to present offers. I know how to write deals, and I know how to negotiate and talk to people, reach out to them. In other words, I sell myself very well. And in selling myself, I'm going to sell your offer to the seller, and do my very best to help even manage the seller's agent in a way that he's going to like your offer so much he's not going to be able to help but tell the seller, you got to take the Diggs' offer. And so that's what we do. But in most cases, what we're going to try to do is have what we call a happy marriage or a ratification or a win-win situation where you get a lot of the things, if not all the things that you want, and the seller get a lot of the things, and we're not going to let them get all the things they want. But we're going to let them get a lot of the things that they want as well, so that everybody knows that they feel like this was a fair transaction and everybody's happy at the end of the day. All right. And we want to establish that relationship, because when you do, there's some very important things that can happen on behalf of the seller. We've had sellers who've actually gone in as a gift to the buyer and put in new hardwood floors, just because of the rapport and the relationship that we establish. And we're not making this a combative thing, but trying to make it a win-win situation. And the way we just sell ourselves to them and sell you to them, they were willing to do something that they had planned to do, but then they were reluctant because they were moving. But they decided to gift it. And it was a wonderful, beautiful gift. It was beautiful. But anyway, things like that can happen if you do the transactions correctly. And that's what we want to do. In all relationships as your agent, we have the duty to act honestly with both the buyers and sellers. But that does not mean that I give up your confidential information. All right? So me being honest means that anything that's germane to the transaction, and as the transaction progresses, things that the seller would need to know that might cause a problem with the agreement that is established, I will have the responsibility to let them know in a discreet manner what we need to do to mitigate that problem, but never to disclose your confidential information. All right? So that's what agency means. All right? This also represents what's called dual agency. Dual agency in the state of Maryland is different than it is in DC and in Virginia. In the state of Maryland, the law does not allow for a real estate agent to represent both the buyer and the seller. But the brokerage can represent both the buyer and the seller. In other words, Porterhouse International Realty Group can be a dual agent for a buyer and a seller. In other words, if you see a house that's listed by another agent at Porterhouse, I will continue to represent you, and the other agent will represent the seller. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Now, if you find a house in DC, and I don't know if you're interested in DC, it is a little bit different. In DC, the agent can represent both the buyer and the seller. So depending on the jurisdiction and the city rules and laws of each jurisdiction, that governs how we have to proceed. And we just have to disclose to you also what dual agency means, because if we find ourselves in this situation where you're actually selecting a property that's listed by a Porterhouse agent, then you have to sign an affirmation of prior consent, meaning that you already have been told that we are selling this property to you, that somebody else is representing that person, and we're going to represent you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you assign off that you are well aware of who's representing who. And that's very, very important. Okay? I think I beat that nail in real good, did I?
Yeah, you did.
You got it? There you go. Good. All right. Now, you guys got this pre-approval. I want to know why you got to move. What's going on?
Our landlord told us on Monday that she's not renewing our lease because she wants to move back in the townhouse. And Monday was actually the last day of our lease, the 31st. It ended at the end of August.
Oh, okay. So I thought you said within 90 days.
Yeah, she said, you know, if she could give us 90 days, and that if we needed longer, she'd be willing to give us longer.
Oh, I see. Okay, I understand. All right. So what are the when you think about purchasing versus renting, what you're thinking about there?
We're thinking about, I guess, having more of a tax benefit for the money that we're spending on rent as opposed to buying a home.
Right.
We understand that, you know, we'd have better tax benefits if we were actually buying a home. And then, you know, for situations that we're dealing with right now, where we have to we thought we were going to be renewing the lease, only to find out that we have to move. And a move is very expensive.
Indeed.
Paying movers and packing, and it's taxing. And we're both busy. My wife is busy with school. I'm busy running my business, and now we have to deal with a move on top of that. So it's just going to be real frustrating. And we don't want to have to go through this anymore. We want to buy something and settle down.
That makes good sense.
We're
So
paying
in that,
rent. We're paying a mortgage.
Yeah. How long have you all been renting?
Huh?
How long have you been renting?
Man, we've been renting for probably over 10 years, 15 years, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, we got to get you out of that situation, guys. Definitely got to get you out of that situation.
Yeah, we're paying $24.50 per month.
Yeah, you're paying somebody's mortgage. So here's the page I really want to pay you guys to kind of just glean from. And this is the part that the recording is going to pay for itself, Ms. Diggs. I like sharing this page. Every time I speak to a buyer, they always talk about in some way, shape, or form improving the quality of their life. And that's what you guys are talking about. That's what you're talking about. But I also wanted to let you know, I don't know if anybody's ever explained any of this to you, but I hope that you hear what I'm trying to say, and I hope you write some of this stuff down. The first thing I want you to know that having a mortgage is a lot more different than renting, of course. But when you pay rent, what is it that you get back out of the rent?
Nothing.
You say nothing. You get something. You get a roof over your head.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay. You get 30 days. You get 30 more days, and in this case, 90 days, right? Like, come on now, you gotta help me out, man. I'm trying to help the rental side out. I normally don't play devil's advocate. Well, let me tell you this. A rent is just rent. You just paying the rent. It goes to the landlord, and he uses it for whatever he pleases to, okay? Most of the time, they're paying off their mortgage. If their mortgage is paid off, then they're putting it in their pocket, or they're paying something else, or you're buying something else for him. When you pay a mortgage, however, what you're actually doing is taking money out of your bank account and moving it into what I call an equity account. So every time you pay your mortgage, you're paying yourself, or you're buying more of your house from the lender back to yourself, if that makes sense. And the way that happens is what's called a mortgage. So most people hear mortgage and they say, oh, that's just what you pay when you own a house. Well, a mortgage is actually comprised of 4 things. And I don't know if you ever heard these, but I'm gonna write down. But in real estate, we remember them by the acronym PITI. Might want to write that down. It's very important. PITI. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay, this is good. I love when somebody learns. I used to be an educator too, 20 years. All right. So PITI stands for the 4 things that your mortgage is comprised of. The first one is your principal. The principal is the amount of money that you're actually buying. Right. Principal, right? What else? Go ahead. You guess it. Interest.
Principal,
Very good.
interest,
So the interest.
taxes and insurance. Taxes and insurance.
There you go. Yes, ma'am. So the principal is the money that you're borrowing from the bank. So in this case, it'd be $500,000. Interest would be the rate that the bank is going to charge you for borrowing their money. The taxes is those that God-given thing that we can't get rid of in this country that we live in. All right. And the insurance is just the money that you pay to make sure that if an act of God happened in your house, that your house would be restored to its value. Okay. But every time you make that one payment, so if your mortgage payment was $2,500, every time you make that $2,500 payment, a portion of it is going to principal, a portion of it is going to interest, a portion goes to taxes, and the last piece goes to the insurance. So you never have to pay a separate tax bill as long as you have a mortgage. All right. Once you amortize your mortgage, what that just means is just kill your mortgage. Once you pay it off, then you do have to pay the taxes and insurance on it, but you no longer have the principal and the interest because you own your home outright. So that means that the house's value now becomes your equity. Everything that you paid in is what you own in terms of equity on your house. So your house has value, and you can actually cash that value out if you decided to take up a new mortgage, put the money in your pocket. That's one of the things that you can do. The other thing that's beautiful about having a mortgage is when you get a 30-year mortgage for about the first 15 years of your mortgage, roughly 80% of your mortgage is tax deductible. I'm going to say that again because I didn't see anybody eyes bulge out their head. For the first 15 years, roughly 80% of your mortgage is tax deductible. So in other words, let's say your mortgage was $3,000 a month. $2,400 a month is tax deductible because that's how much they're going to pay to the interest and the taxes, because the mortgage company wants to get their money first before you start paying down that principal. So they're going to make you pay that interest first, which is tax deductible, and your taxes are tax deductible. So in other words, at the end of the year, if all things being equal and you didn't owe Uncle Sam anything, if you take that 2,400 times 12 and you were able to get a return, you have a lot of money in your pocket. What happens in most people's lives is that we buy too much stuff and then we don't get a tax return or we take too much taxes during a year. But all in all, you still get to write that off and reduce the amount of income taxes that you pay just by owning a house and having a mortgage for 15 years. I think that's a great thing because if you think about it, you said your mortgage is what, 2,400? Let me see. That would mean you said 2,500?
Almost. It's 2,450.
Okay, 2,450. Let me see. I don't have a calculator because I'm using my phone. But let me try to do that in my head. Let's see. That's what, $2,000. That would be $2,000 of your mortgage would be tax deductible. I mean, $2,000 of your rent, if it was a mortgage, would be tax deductible. All right. And that's every month. That's a wonderful thing. Okay. The other thing is that there's an appreciation potential when you own real estate. You know, there's a saying that we like to say, don't wait to buy real estate, just buy some real estate and then wait. And what that means is that over time, real estate tends to appreciate. Now, I could take that same $500,000 and go over there and give me one of them Bugattis and all that kind of stuff. As soon as I drive it off the lot, you know what's going to happen. It's going to depreciate. But with real estate, no matter what piece of land you purchase, if you hold on to it long enough, it's going to appreciate over time. Your grandparents, my grandparents, may have purchased the property and they might have only paid $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 for that property. Well, that same property today is worth significantly more than when they purchased it. And we all know that. We understand that principle. Now, of course, you have to do improvements to your house, etc. But the appreciation value of land has been a gold standard in this country for a very long time. So again, buy a piece of real estate and just hold on to it. The other thing is the deferred gain and capital gains treatment, which is the once in a lifetime exclusion. So what does that mean? That means if you purchase a piece of property and you hold on to it, or if like down at the National Harbor, those people bought those properties, they paid $400,000 to move into those properties. Those properties are worth $1 million right now. The capital gains treatment says that if they make money above $250,000 and are single, they get $250,000 check when they sell their house tax-free. But if they're married, they get $500,000 tax-free.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What you're saying is if you buy a house and it appreciates at $500,000, $500,000, and we sell it for the amount that it's appreciated. So we say we buy a $500,000 home and we get ready to move out of it because we want to move to another country and we're going to go through Porterhouse Realty to do that. That $500,000 capital gains we get for free because we're married.
You get, if you were single, you would get $250 tax-free. If y'all stick together, you got to stick together. The digs and digs for life. you get a $500,000 tax free.
So
That's
we can
now.
just walk away with it, spend what we want on it. We can invest it in something.
It's your,
Government ain't coming to us to get
it's
their
all
property.
yours. All
Wow.
yours on your primary property. Now, that doesn't work. That doesn't work on an investment property.
Okay.
It's only on your primary residence where you live. But you can do it every time you buy a new primary residence. So for some people, moving into a home is strategic. They're looking at the property value. They're looking at the growth rate in the market. People, like, for instance, people are fighting to get into Bowie, for instance. Bowie is the high sought after community in Prince George's County. The mayor of Bowie is so smart, he strategically has banned new construction permits. So what they're trying to do is keep the value of the land such that it's so highly sought after that you can't build anything new anymore, and you have to hope somebody dies or moves out in order to get in. So that's going to cause the price of the property in the market to increase dramatically over time. Those people are fighting to get in Bowie. They're paying over price for the property, even if it doesn't appraise. They just want to get in because they realize the same principle that I just told you. If I just buy that property, hold on to it, maybe get a tenant in there, let them pay my mortgage for me. That's my favorite radio station, PMM FM. That's pay my mortgage for me. That's what your landlord is playing. I'm telling you, every first of the month, it pops up. But if you can do that, yes, when you're ready to cash out on that property, is your principal residence, you get that money tax free.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop recording right there. Let's go to school. That's it. I'm done. No, I'm just kidding. I got a little bit more. All right. But that's a wonderful thing. That's really good. And I'm glad you caught on to that. All right. We talked about principal accumulation. What that means is that if you ever decide to put any of that extra money that you get back in tax time into your mortgage, do not just pay an extra mortgage. You call the mortgage company and say, I want to make a principal only payment. Does that make sense? Because again, your mortgage is made up of 4 things. If you send that money in, they're going to break it down to those 4 things. But if you just make a principal only payment, now what you're doing is amortizing your mortgage. You're accumulating on the principal.
Now,
You're paying down the principal. Yes.
I have a question. Because someone had told me that if you, I guess, make an arrangement with the mortgage company at some point during your mortgage and make a double payment, then you could pay half payments every other week and reduce the principal even faster and pay less interest over time. So you'll be paying your mortgage almost in half the time. Is that true?
Now look, let me tell you something right now, Ms. Diggs. I'm about tired of you. You're gonna stop going fast. You're gonna stop going faster than my presentation, and you're gonna stop doing it better than the agents that I'm training to do this. Because every time I try to train them to get that, they never say it as good as you just did. You want to be a real estate agent? We need to get you in. That was perfect. Absolutely. There is a wonderful, wonderful product that 90% of the mortgage companies are offering where you make half payments. So now you don't have to make life decisions the first of the month. Do we eat this month? Does the dog have to go? What am I going to do? You can split the payments. You can split the payments. You can pay half at the beginning. And then, I mean, they even let you choose the date. Like I chose like the 2nd and the 19th or something like that. Okay. Now they let you make the half payment. Guess what else? You don't even pay it, because what they're going to do is make you put it in an account and they draw from that account on the half payment schedule. Yeah. Yeah. And so I don't even know when my mortgage comes out. It's just, hey, it happens. Okay. I don't know. It just, they do what they do, but the money is in the account. Whenever they hit it, they hit it. Now, that being said, you're absolutely right. I'm going to tell you the exact number. You pay down your mortgage 7 years faster just by making half payments. Now, how in the world does that work? That's magic, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not as magic.
Oh, I know how it works. So, I can tell you.
Yeah, break it down. Uh-oh, here we go. I'm glad we record this.
Okay, so interest amortizes every day. There is an accrual of interest. And it's usually a set amount based on the principal that's outstanding. Well, if you're paying down the principal part of the way through the month, half of the month, then the interest that's being charged on that lower principal after that half payment lowers your interest rate every time. So each time you make a payment, you're paying more on your principal than you are on the interest, because you're reducing your interest faster, because you're reducing that principal faster than you would if you waited the full 30 days before making that payment.
I'm done. I'm hanging up on you. Sign the documents. We're done. and you got, there's one more part to it. That's perfect. And what else?
I don't know.
See, I get to beat the boss. I get to beat the boss for a few more minutes. Boy, I can't wait till you come here. Miss Diggs, we got a new career for your wife. I'm telling you right now. You need to sign up for the class. This is you missed your calling. What else happens is just simple. It's simple, real simple. When you make one payment a month, how many payments do you make in a year?
12.
12 payments. When you make a half payment, how many weeks are there in a year?
52.
52 divided in half is 26. Divided in half, you make 13 payments. In addition to everything that you just said. See, I'm saying the simple. I said the easy part since you did the difficult part. But you're absolutely right. That's wonderful. You're the only person that has ever got that. I gotta give you something special. I don't know what I'm gonna do, Mr. Diggs. Hey brother, you married up, man. I see what you're working with, brother. I'm proud. We're gonna have to talk. I'm gonna call you back after we finish. That is really, really awesome. The other thing is that you're gonna have pride in your home, and you ain't got to worry about these 90 days ever again. No landlord. And then what's called leverage. I love leverage. I want you, Mr. Diggs, you a businessman. I hope you're using a whole lot of leverage. I want to talk to you about leverage. It was one of the first things I learned in business. I learned it from a multi-millionaire. It has transformed everything that we have done, okay? Leverage means you get a whole lot of something for a little bit of nothing, okay? And the little bit of nothing is what we call skin in the game. Now, you ain't got to get dirty. You ain't got to get beat up, but you got to put some skin in the game. So what that looks like is Mr. Cooper just gave me a pre-approval for you for $500,000. So I want you to use your imagination and just imagine Mr. Cooper tomorrow is going to drop off a bag of cash, $500,000. But he's going to take out of that $500,000 a handful of money, as much as he can carry. And he say, Porter, that's close to $500,000 right there. When the Diggs bring whatever's left to fill in that hole, give them that bag and let them go get a house. What time y'all gonna be at my office? That's all I want to ask you. What time are you gonna be at my office? $500,000 laying in the duffel bag right there waiting on you. All you gotta do is fill in the gap, and he told me to give you the whole thing. That's how you got to look at that piece of paper. That piece of paper is so powerful. It is very valuable, especially coming from Mr. Cooper. If you had got it from anybody else, I might not be as excited as I am right now. But that's what leverage means. It means the bank is going to give you the majority of the money, 90-something% of the money that you need to buy your own house that you're going to live in and end up benefiting from it. Then Ms. Diggs going to make sure that the property value appreciates over time, pay down the mortgage quickly, and then she's going to sell it and make sure she don't never leave you, brother. I don't think you can lose.
Right.
Because she wanted that $500,000 check tax-free. She wanted to see if I know what I'm talking about. Trust me, I do. I bought a lot of homes, but hey, let's keep on doing it. The other thing is the real cost of renting. You said you guys been renting for at least 10 years, but if your rent was only $700 a month, with a 6% cost of living increase in the rent over 10 years, you're going to pay $110. You bought 1/5 of the house already that you were going to pay for if your rent was only $700 a month. Yeah. So we got to get you out of that situation. Now, here's the home buying process. We kind of laid it out for you, but the first 3 steps are very important. Find a realtor you can trust. You can trust the Porterhouse Realtors. Obtain financial pre-approval, which you've already done. And now we're analyzing your needs in this buyer's consultation. We'll talk some strategy now. Now you have to be really, really aggressive. Again, we're in the COVID market. That's the only thing we can call it. This market is sick. In other words, what we were able to do back in March, we no longer can do because so many people have taken advantage of the 0% interest, 3% interest, the lowest interest rates in history. And everybody and their cousin are getting pre-approved and they're doing it together just so they can go out here and buy houses. That means that when we were submitting offers before March, it might be one offer on a property, maybe two. We're encountering 5, 7, and 10, and 13, and 20 offers on one house, and this is happening overnight. So if you wait until Saturday to go see a property, it might not be there. Today is Thursday. If you see a property pop up and you say, let's go see it Saturday, it might not be there Saturday. So not only do you have to get to the property, you have to view it, and then you got to write an offer, and you got to write an aggressive offer. Back in March, we were saying 1% earnest money deposit is good enough. We've had to change that strategy. We're now saying put 1% down as an initial deposit, and then 1% as an incentive to the seller to ratify with you. So that means you're putting 2% down now just to get your foot in the door so you can get the house that you want. All right. Now, what does that mean? Well, the great thing is that if you have your FHA loan, and I believe your loan is an FHA loan, that means 3.5% is what you have to put down. The FHA requires. That's the skin in the game that you got to put down. That's the leverage, right? Now, that 3.5%, if you put the earnest money deposit, you do 1% just to write the offer, and then another 1% upon ratification. If you can, we don't have to do it that way. It's other strategy we can do, but this is some of the strategies that we actually have to employ for those people that have it. Then what that means is that we'll get you ratified. We'll start to negotiate and get any counter offers. We won't get rejected. They'll accept your contract, and then we'll start down the process to get you your home. All right? So there is some upfront money that you have to pay. You have to get an inspection done. Like I said, we want you to always get an inspection on a house. Any property that you buy, I don't care if you do it for Porterhouse or anybody else, please, for your own protection, always get a home inspected. People do stuff to homes you wouldn't believe, all right? The home inspection is what we call a contingency. Contingencies are put in place to give you a way out legally. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, we do the inspection, and some things come back on the inspection that you don't like. Well, that contingency says, well, we did the inspection. We asked you guys to make the repairs that were identified. You don't want to make them. We think it's more than what we bid off, more than what we could chew. We like to move out of this contract. You move out of the contract, you get your earnest money deposit back. That earnest money deposit is held in escrow, and it comes off as the first 2% or 1% of that 3.5% that you're going to have to put down anyway. So that's your money. You just put it in an escrow as a placekeeper until you go to settlement. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah. So the earnest money deposit that we put down, the 1% to write, and then the 1% ratification that's released to the buyer when they ratify the contract, that goes against the 3.5%, meaning that we would only have 1.5% that we would have to complete plus closing costs.
Exactly right. That's exactly right.
And that's what we come to the table with at the settlement.
Exactly. So the other thing is here, let me tell you about closing costs. So closing costs has a side A and a side B, right? Side A is your down payment. That's 3.5%. Side B is all the other fees. So we try to get you to take care as much of those other fees as possible. And here's some of the upfront money that we tell you that we recommend that you put. The earnest money deposit between 1% and 2%. Pay. Now the brokerage does have a fee. The commission part of your brokerage fee is going to be paid by the seller mostly. Now they used to pay the whole 3%. Now they only paying 2.25%, 2.75%, 2%. Whatever's left over, that goes onto your closing costs. There's an inspection fee depending on the size of the house that you get. It starts as low as $350 for like a condo, and it works its way up. And then the appraisal fees are around $500 or so, no matter what house you get, a condo, whatever. The appraiser don't care; they want that same fee. That's the upfront money, meaning the money that you're going to pay out as you go through the transaction to get to the settlement table. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
All right. But once you get ratified, that's when you turn back over to Mike Cooper and in the lender's hands. And this is when you really have to be very, very careful at what you're doing with your personal finance, with your bank accounts, and with everything else. So once you do that, once we get you ratified, you're going to have to complete the mortgage application. So you have a pre-approval. This is the real approval. Once you get the real house, the real taxes, you know what the house is, the HOA, if it's a, you know, whatever the rules are, we got to get all of that information, disclosures, etc. Then you start the credit application, the actual complete mortgage application. They're going to do another credit report. They're going to then do the appraisal. They're going to do what they call verification of your employment, your job, and your income. And all of that, Mike Cooper is like I am. He represents you. He has to get that past the underwriter. Her job is to be an internal mechanism to represent the bank and to protect their money and their best interest from you. So Mike is like trying to shoot the goal, which has the Diggs puck on it, into the goal, and the underwriter is trying to be the goalie. We're going to do everything we can to paint the best picture for you. The most important thing you can do is follow the 10 commandments that I'm going to share with you in a little while. All right. Once you get the loan past the underwriter, we get what's called a loan approval. Where it says termite and survey, that's up to you. 90% of our inspections, the inspector that we use, he does the termite for you. So he does a termite inspection for you and includes it in the cost of the inspection. So that's a wonderful thing that he provides as an actual service. Then you're gonna have to contact an insurance company to get the insurance, because you can choose any insurance company that you want. I recommend to get your foot in the door, you choose the insurance company that's going to give you the maximum amount of coverage that they require for the least amount of money. Just to get your foot in the door, you can always change it later once you get used to your mortgage, etc. Okay. Then you're going to also have to get your utilities turned on. Meanwhile, the title company is going to be collecting information from you. They're going to start calling and ask you some very personal information, because what they're going to do is prepare a deed that's going to be in your name. And what they're doing is what's called a title exam. They're going to be looking at the house that's being sold to you to make sure they clear the title of all defects and liens. In other words, they're going to make sure that nobody, including Pookie, Nene, and nobody else who might not be home right now because they're off away in an institution, can come back and say, Grandma said that when I get out, that house was supposed to come to me. If anybody ever knocks on your door, you say, look, you got the wrong house. I'm sorry, whatever Grandma told you, but I have title insurance. You call the title company and say, hey, somebody just came and knocked on my door. Pookie said his grandmama said his house, and they're going to say, well, you have insurance against that because we cleared everything off of the lien. And off of that title, I mean. And they insure that. So for the lifetime of your house is going to be insured against any kind of foolishness like that. Other things you're going to close on your property, take possession of your new home, tell everybody about Porterhouse, and that's going to save us a lot of advertising money. That's called leverage 2, okay? We just want you to tell everybody about us. Any questions? Now, I said all of that real quick,
yeah.
but it don't happen that quick, but it don't have to happen slow. We've closed homes in less than 30 or 45 days from the time you pick it. You pick the house.
That was one of my questions.
Yeah. So you got
that was one
plenty
of my
of time.
questions.
Yeah, you have plenty of time.
Okay. Yeah, that was one of my questions.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I keep saying something. Let me be quiet. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how long does this process take?
It depends on how quickly you're ready to move.
Okay.
So from the time you pick the house, we write the offer up and we get a response. As soon as we get a response from the from the seller, if it's favorable and they accept our contract, we close 30 days or less.
Okay, my next question is, what if something important comes up in regards to the home inspection at a later date? Do we have any kind of recourse?
Yeah, we have a contingency plan.
So when it comes to the inspection, the inspector, he's going to pretty much go through everything in the house in terms of looking for any kind of latent defects. I mean, I've seen these guys even take this image enhanced so they can see through the walls and see if it's cracks in the wood and all kind of stuff. They look in the roof, they go into crawl spaces, they check your plumbing, they check your electricity, water, wiring, etc. They look at the ampage, they look at the wiring coming into the house, the slopage of the land, etc. They cover everything. Now, you're saying if anything like what? Give me an example.
I know it wouldn't be something like this, but let's say asbestos was discovered.
Well, if you buy a house that was built prior to 1978, we're going to do, there's going to probably be asbestos and or lead, and there's going to be a disclosure about that. So you would know about that just from the year that they stopped using those materials. Right. Furthermore, the inspector is definitely going to be looking for the insulation. Nobody uses asbestos anymore, but you will find homes that were built prior to 1978 that were built with asbestos. I mean, you'll see wire that has cloth coverings on them in the electrical wiring. You'll see all kind of things in older homes. Yeah, you'll see lead paint that's been painted over many times, and the danger with lead paint is when kids peel and chip it. But if you don't get a home that was built prior to 1978, you 90% of the time don't have to worry about that kind of stuff.
Now, if he would find something that we don't like, the contingency plan would give us the ability to back out the deal, right?
You would demand that the seller repair it, or you can walk away.
Okay.
I was talking about after we moved in.
No, that's why he's doing the
inspection. That's why you definitely got to get an inspection. Then the backup to that is the appraiser. So the appraiser not only assesses the value, he's also an inspector. So his job is to look for also safety defects. So I had an inspector that made us take bars off of windows before. He wouldn't finish the appraisal until the bars were removed. He had to go back out and look at them. I've had appraisers that didn't see a carbon monoxide detector in the home they're supposed to have one. So they would definitely be looking for asbestos and things of that nature.
Now,
anything that's safety related, in particular, is both the inspector and the appraiser's responsibility. And that's two different people independent.
Do we get a copy of the appraisal?
You pay for it, absolutely.
Okay, because I like to look at the comps, because sometimes I don't like the comps. Well,
no, the appraisal is not the comps. The comps are what we're going to prepare for you before we write an offer.
Oh, no. Yeah. When I talk about the appraisal, usually when they appraise the value, they look at comps in the area.
So let me help you. So what real estate agents do, we run comps. Okay. So we run comps for our clients as a service to help us gauge whether or not the properties are actually marketed appropriately. So we have to do our due diligence. Similarly, you're absolutely right. The appraiser runs a different kind of comp. He runs a comp, but it's a little bit more detailed, and it's based off of other indicators like market trends, like the condition of the home itself, the quality of the materials that we use, etc. So his appraised value is based on a different thing, and his value is the only value that matters. Mine doesn't matter. The listing agent doesn't matter. What you wanted to offer for the house doesn't matter, and what the seller wanted to sell it for doesn't matter. The only value that actually counts is the appraised value.
Right, because that determines the loan to value.
That's what the house is worth, hands down, period.
Okay.
Nobody else's value matters except the appraisers.
Do you know of any special programs or grants that help with down payment assistance?
Yes, Michael Cooper. This is the person you need to talk to. Michael Cooper. That's really the responsibility of the lender, and you just need to let him know what you're looking for, and he's going to try to match you up with a product that meets your needs. So there are Maryland Home Buying Program. There's a Federal Home Bank of Atlanta program. Michael Cooper has the details. The real estate agent doesn't do that information anymore. We used to get all involved in that. But then what will happen is that once we turn it over to lender will be like, they don't qualify. So now what we do is we kind of stay in our lane, let the lender stay in his lane. So that is in the lender's lane, Mr. Diggs. Make sure you let Mr. Cooper know what you're looking for and how you want to do it.
Okay.
Do they still have that one for teachers, do you know?
They do, but that's a special program, right? You talking about the Good Neighbor Next Door program for teachers, police
I think
officers,
that's
etc.
what it's for.
Yeah. So I used to be an
Yeah, because
educator. I
I'm a
remember
teacher.
that program. Good. Awesome. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I used to be a principal. I was an educator for 20 years. I understand what you're going through and I feel for you. And I'm not laughing at you, but you know what I'm saying. This is some craziness that y'all going to. We'll talk about that on another. I call you personally on that, Ms. Diggs. I don't know how y'all doing this COVID thing. I couldn't even plan for this as an educator. I would have walked away. But yeah,
I texted.
are you in Prince George's County?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, you're not as bad as DC. I had one of my former teachers, call me yesterday in tears. They didn't give the teachers any technology, and she had to use her own. She has to use her own personal computer, and the kids don't have technology. The kids, they scrambling trying to unplug. Yeah, that's the question des jour. That's what they trying to figure out. But they started school without it.
So now, you know that don't make no sense.
Yeah, she been 18 years. She's been educated 18 years. She said, "I think I'm gonna quit, Porter. I think I'm gonna quit." This is it. I said, you gotta hold tight. She done already called the union. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. All right, moving on. I'm gonna have to edit that out the recording.
Okay.
But go ahead, Mr. Dick.
Yeah, I had asked about a property that is up for rent. It's a brand new property. You said you were gonna. It said that it wouldn't be available for rent until November, and I was wondering if the builder would be interested in selling it.
Yeah, I talked to the listing agent, and like I told you, he said that nobody's interested in selling that property.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So 99% of the time, now that's another thing with us. We have to list the properties appropriately, and if that property, now you can make a property available for both purchase and rent at the same time and see which one you get first. That property is not available for purchase. It's only available for rent when it comes available.
Okay. There was another property that I texted you in Bowie. I believe the sale price on it was $422,000. You remember getting that from me?
Yes.
I wanted to know if that property, if we were able to look at that this Saturday.
So yes, we're gonna look at that, but I'm gonna make sure we schedule a proper tour. So I think I got 2 more slides and then I'm done. So I just want to go through this and then we're gonna talk about strategies, okay?
Okay.
All right, cool. So this is a very important page right here, and in fact, Mr. Cooper did a training with my agents this morning, and he said to please reiterate this to the clients because it's really important because many people are making this mistake and they're kicking themselves out of a loan that was hard to get into and hard fought to get all the way to the settlement table, and then because they violated the 10 Commandments, they weren't able to get their loan closed. Okay. So the first thing is that once you get ratified into a contract, everything has to remain motionless in your life, in your financial life. In other words, thou shalt not change jobs, become self-employed. You listen to Ms. Diggs, or quit your job. You can't do that once you get ratified. You can't do it. I love my job. I ain't going nowhere. All right, great. I loved it too when I did it, but I did 20 years in. I did 20 years in the inner city. All right. Thou shalt not buy a car, truck, or a van, or you may be living in it. And that means not even on the day of settlement. Many people make that mistake. We had a gentleman today, he bought his girlfriend an engagement ring, and on the day of settlement, they pulled verification at the last minute, and he had taken out a new credit. You can't do that. Okay? Thou shalt not use your charge cards excessively. In other words, just stop using them. Once you get your house, you got to do what you got to do, but just be very, very, very judicious on the way you use your charge cards because the underwriter wants to catch you. Thou shalt not spend the money that you are setting aside for closing. That means we might have to eat some hot pockets and tighten up a little bit, but we got to save some money. We can't be going out just because we want to get out. We got to keep cooking. All right. Thou shalt not omit any debts or liabilities from your loan application. Anything that you know about that might come back to haunt you from your past, don't tell anybody, not me, just Mike Cooper. Mike Cooper's job is to fix your problems before he gets to the underwriter. Tell him whatever it is that you think, Mike, student loan that you think that they forgot, the underwriter will find it. Okay? Thou shalt not buy the furniture. Don't go buy your furniture. We have people go out and open up a charge account to buy furniture. Don't go buy your furniture. Close your house, then go the next day and get your furniture account. Do not originate any new inquiries whatsoever into your credit. That's what we're saying over and over again. Okay. Thou shalt not make large cash deposits without first checking with the loan officer. What's a large cash deposit? Any kind of green cash that you put into your bank account that might raise a red flag. It could be something as small as $50 in cash.
Huh?
If you're not, yes, ma'am. Cash deposits cannot be traced nor sourced. So if you start putting cash into your account in the preparation to get your house, the underwriter will think you stopped teaching school and started selling something else.
Oh, okay, I got it.
she gonna think that you get it. I'm recording. Okay, there you go. Thou shalt not change bank accounts. Now, I'm gonna tell you something. These banks are getting on people's nerves in the COVID. They might get on your nerves because you can't get through that window anymore. But don't change a bank account because that looks suspicious too. Again, these people are about to give you $500,000. They don't know you, so don't make any sudden moves. That's the bottom line. And never, ever, ever co-sign for anyone. You already co-signed for life. Mr. and Mrs. Diggs, that's it. No kids, none of them. Don't co-sign for them kids. Don't do it. They'll set you up. They'll set you up.
We already know.
All right. We talked about down payment, side A, side B. Now, the great thing, Mr. Diggs, this is for you. In addition, the FHA does require you to bring that 3.5% down payment, but you can get what's called gift money assistance from mother, father, sister, brother. They can help you with the 3.5%. They could pay all of it for you as a gift. But they got to give you a copy of their bank account showing the money in there because you can't be doing nothing suspicious. Then they have to give you a letter saying that you never have to pay that money back. And then they transfer the money to your account. Mike Cooper will tell you how to do it if that's something that you're interested in doing. Again, Mr. Diggs, you jumped ahead of my slide presentation, but you see your grant money, down payment assistance, if you're eligible. I don't know if either one of you are a member of the clergy or a minister, but we even found out because we just good, Mike Cooper's really good, he found out that there's a special exception that they could take up a tithe for you.
Wow, okay.
If you're a minister or clergy, but it got to be a one-time gift, they got to do everything, give you a note saying that we took up a gift for this person, minister so-and-so, towards her house one time. Can't be over the next 6-7 weeks. Can't do it like that. All right? Now, if you have a conventional loan, which you don't, there's normally between 5 and 20% that you got to bring to the table. You have an FHA, which is only 3.5%, which is really great. FHA was actually created to help African Americans who were being discriminated against in the purchase of homes by just pricing them out. Okay? The side B, this is where you can receive help. So we used to be able to get credits from the lender and all of that, and even closing help from the seller. The COVID market has been so crazy that it's very dangerous to ask for seller help because, again, if you're competing in 5 and 10 other offers and nobody else is asking for seller help, or closing cost help, then you're not going to get the offer. You're not going to get the house. Okay, so the name of the game now is for us to identify where we're going to pull money from, where the money's going to come from ahead of time, so that once we get down the pipe, we already have all of our ducks in a row. Okay, and again, this is a strong conversation that we need to have together with Mike Cooper. All right, but that's what your closing costs are made of, side A and side B. Do you guys have any questions about that?
No.
All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen for just a second, because I'm going to send you some documents just so you can go ahead and get us hired up for to represent you in the purchase of your home. The first documents is understanding whom agents represent, consent for dual agent, notification of dual agency within the team, and then your exclusive buyer tenants agent. Now, I'm going to send it to you on your phone, and you're going to get something from Dotloop, and it might say Jasmine Porter, because I'm using her information right now to sign in. But all you have to do is click it, and it's going to have a little flashing button, say start sign, you sign it, and then share it back with us. And that's the way you'll sign all your documents with us.
Okay. Is it like DocuSign kind of?
Similar to DocuSign.
Okay, let me see. I
It's
just
specific for, real estate though.
okay. Okay, start signing. You know my name is spelled wrong, right?
How you spell your name? Don't sign it. Let me fix it.
Jacqueline.
Oh, nobody told me that. I'm sorry. Let me fix that. Hold on.
Most people spell it wrong. It's all right. So I should delete this one?
No, I should be able to fix it real easy.
Okay, I'll come out of it.
Jaqquely.
And
Index. Okay. So let me go back in. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, hold on, guys. Don't sign it. I'm sorry. Give me a second, because I think somebody you must already signed it already. I'm gonna clear it out.
I
Okay.
clicked on it, but I didn't sign it. Okay.
All right. Give me 1 second. JACQUELYN.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. Let me check. Hopefully I got it right. I think I got it right. I'm just checking everywhere, see if I can see anything. I think I got it right.
Okay.
I'm gonna save it. Now you're gonna get a new one now, so you can disregard the first one. You can actually delete it if you want.
Okay.
So that you won't be confused with the second link, because it's gonna look exactly the same. All right, here it comes. Let's see. All right, hold on a second. We have a little snafu.
Okay.
Let's see. All right, I'm sharing it with you now. Did you guys get it yet?
Yes. you want me to draw it myself or use the one you
No,
provided?
you could just adopt and sign it. It's much easier to do that.
You only need my signature?
No, Reggie
Oh,
should be in there as
okay.
well. Do you have one, Reginald?
Oh, you got it. Oh, here's the phone.
Yeah, his goes directly to his email.
I just finished mine. And you need me to share it, right?
Share it back. Mm-hmm.
Should I have to sign up for an account to share it? Or
No, you don't have to sign up. It's just trying to sell it to you. You don't have to accept it, and you don't have to do the survey either. It's gonna ask you to rate it. You don't have to do that. Okay, so I have Jacqueline's signatures.
So do I have to download it and then share it? Is that how that works?
No. You just once you finish, it should
Mm-hmm.
say share back, and then you should say I'm done. And once it says I'm done, you're done.
Okay, I must be done then because I don't think.
I have both of your signatures. So I have everything. So now you should also have a copy of everything as well.
Yes. So we already shared back to you. Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I'm gonna stop this. Let me stop. I think I'm still recording.
No, we're not supposed to.